do not expect it to be easy, but it's going to be worth it, right? I think the rewards are not always what they seem. They're not always in your face. You don't necessarily get rich opening a restaurant. I mean, you rarely do actually, but the rewards are different. They are human rewards. You meet incredible people. You create connections with a lot of people throughout the day. I think those are the rewards you need to accept. You need to take them as rewards. If not, you're going to be miserable.
Welcome to the Restaurant Leaders Unplugged podcast, where real talks with restaurant leaders take center stage. Discover the challenges and victories that define success in the culinary world. Dive into essential strategies from marketing to operations and gain insights that will transform your approach to your restaurant business. Don't just keep up, lead the way. Join me, your host, Sebastian Stahl, on this journey to excellence. All right, Mathieu, welcome to the Restaurant Leaders Unplugged podcast. It's really a pleasure to have you here today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So for listeners out there, today we have Mathieu Geraud. He has a very interesting story through his days in restaurants and really have a treat for you guys today. Mathieu has worked for a lot of different restaurant groups and then he went to restaurant ownership. But I'm going to let Mathieu here tell us his story. And so Mathieu, let's start at the beginning. Just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in the restaurant industry.
Right. So I started studying it at the age of 15. I went to, in France, we have high schools that from the age of 15, you can pick which career or which direction you want to take. And I picked hospitality at the age of 15 in Nice, in the south of France. I went to this school called Pologier. It's a school that trains people into the different fields of the hospitality industry. So anywhere from the kitchen to the dining room, marketing, accounting, and so on. So I did that for 3 years and then went to Paris to pursue a bachelor degree in hospitality management at the Vatel Institute. That was for 3 years from 2005 to 2008 and then ended up in LA for a 1-year master program with Vatel Institute as well. They were opening that in Los Angeles, first school in Los Angeles. So I said, why not? Let's go. Let's see how that works. And it was pretty good because I got to do that master degree, which was very well made, more in an American way. So a lot of assignments, group studies and all that. So really getting into the depth of what is it to run a hospitality operation in these modern times. And at the same time, I was also having an internship at Patina restaurant group within the Patina restaurant, the one Michelin star restaurant at that time. So that was very interesting to do both, to be into a fine dining destination in Los Angeles while studying how to run a business here in this environment. So I did that until 2009, went back to Paris for a year and a half, and then eventually came back to LA. Patina Restaurant Group offered me a visa sponsorship, so I was able to come back to Patina as well, restaurant for a few years. And then the group allowed me to move around in different restaurants within downtown LA as well. So Café Pinot, Nick and Steph. And also I spent the summer at the Hollywood Bowl, which was really fun. Patina Restaurant Group at that time used to run all those different operations. So the Hollywood Bowl concessions, the music center concessions, and then all those different restaurants. So it was great to be able to just help out and go from different atmosphere, different restaurants from Hollywood to downtown LA. Yeah. I learned so much from it. I worked for the Patina Restaurant Group until 2016 and then worked for SBE, Sammy Boy Entertainment, which had, Katsuya, Chloe. So I was there for about a year and then was offered a position with Chef Ray Garcia at his restaurant called Broken Spanish. Beautiful Mexican restaurant until the inevitable pandemic, which just threw everything. And then you had to figure out what to do. And then I went into the entrepreneurship world right after that. Yeah.
So, which are very different worlds, but of course your time in Patina Restaurant Group shaped your approach to restaurant management and what you do today.
So it was a very European way on how to see the guest relationship, most important, while having the American take on it. But the former owner of the company, Joachim Spichal, is a German national, came to LA in the 80s and brought with him the old school approach to hospitality. So everything you do has to be for the guests at all costs. You never say no, and you make sure you make it work. And that really shaped the company's philosophy and made it very successful too, as opposed to other restaurant groups that I could see out there and I'd also worked for at SB, for example, very different. I think Patina really, all of us working for this company shaped us into really exceeding in making sure we get the guest first in and make sure we exceed the expectations. So that really shaped me and really went hand in hand with what I was learning at school as well. So I could really practice that. And it was not just words. We were literally doing it on a daily basis. Yeah. And sometimes at a painful cost.
Well, yeah, definitely, man. And that's what we all go through there in this industry, but that's really hands-on experience. So now then transitioning into entrepreneurship and restaurant ownership, but then tell me a little bit about when you took over Garçons de Café, what motivated you to take the leap and how did that happen? Because going from working at a structured place, you know what I mean, like that, and then just going into entrepreneurship, I guess that was the next step for you. But tell me a little bit about how that happened.
I mean, it was a combination of the possibility of doing it because my friend was selling his wine bar. So first of all, the opportunity to take an existing business that was successful prior to the pandemic and turning it into mine. The fact that it's a wine bar and not a full-scale restaurant, it's also less scary. And you can build to making it a restaurant. But if you start with the restaurant with the staff and a team and all that, it's just a lot to take on. So that was just, okay, we're going to start taking over this small business and we can take it to the next levels. And also I was feeling like it was time that I did something for myself with everything that I had learned, working with all those different leaders in this industry. I felt like I'd take the chance to do it on my own, which I always wanted to. And this was the opportunity. And it's an opportunity that presented itself that I was definitely not going to turn because these kind of opportunities don't present themselves that much. Taking over an existing business that's not too big, that already has clientele, that's already established. Now we're coming into post-COVID world. It was 2021, so that had other challenges.
Yeah, but so you took it over during the pandemic.
Right, yeah, June of 2021. So yeah, we're still dealing with the outcomes of the pandemic. Yeah.
So it's a huge risk.
Yeah.
That's...
it's funny, huh? The month I took over the bar, June 1st, 2021, was the month we could have patrons sit at the bar again. We were not allowed to have anyone sitting at the bar. Yeah. So it was only patio and tables that were has to be 6 feet apart. Nightmare. And I didn't know they were going to change the rules right away. So I was obviously super glad and, and surprised, but, it was challenging. Yeah. People were still wearing the mask. People didn't want to be inside. Everybody were freaked out if you were too close to them. So glad it's over.
Oh yeah, 100%. So what are some of the differences, Mathieu, that you have found from going into working at different restaurant groups and then going into restaurant ownership?
Yeah.
What are the challenges that you have found and the differences between those two worlds?
Well, where do we start? I mean, you're on your own. So pretty much nothing is going to get done unless you push yourself every day. You don't have a boss to remind you of your goals and assignments. You have to give that to yourself every day. So being even more organized, writing down everything. My calendar is full of everything to remind me what I need to do on a daily basis. So pushing me even more than I used to. Because before I could relate on the managers I had hired, the team that I had, and I could delegate way more. That is not what I was able to do at that time. I had to really do everything myself, get the groceries, print the menu, everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It changes that. Also, I would say, economically speaking, you're an employee, you get paid no matter what. I mean, until the restaurant obviously cannot sustain, but you're going to get paid. You had a bad month at the restaurant, you're going to get paid. Now it's different. You had a bad month. Well, you just don't pay yourself and, or half of what you're supposed to pay. And you got to pay your staff, your team first as a priority, and then the rent, obviously, and your providers. Those are the priorities, and you come last. So those are the two challenges. Yeah. Beside that, it's only great, man. I mean, you're just any idea you want to put into motion, you can this instant, and it's great. You don't have to go through different levels of management, different meetings, and you can implement ideas right away, whether they're good or not. You see the result right away too, so it's good.
Right. So Mathieu, now we know that this business is changing a lot, especially during this year. It's changed quite a bit. Of course, from the pandemic and everything, just been like changing. Where do you see this going, and how have you been managing all these changes with raising labor costs especially of course in a city like LA and then food costs and all that stuff. In a setting like your type of restaurant, what have you guys set in place to shift and to still keep profitable and still
Right.
sustain the level of creativity and excellence that you deliver at a restaurant like yours?
Yeah. Well, I was trained into having a very large team of server, busser, runner, bartenders, bar bag, you name it, right? The whole team. And that was my model for all those years. I think this model for this type of small businesses is completely obsolete. And it's basically you have to have one person do it all. So the servers that I hire and the bartenders that I hire, I tell them right away before they are hired during the interview. I'm like, this is a small team. We're a small business. Those are the reality of our world right now. You don't have a bar back. You don't have a busser. You don't have a runner. And you know what? They actually love it because they feel like they're more useful. They keep busy. Time goes by faster. And also they make more money. They don't have to share the tips with other people. So everybody's a winner. We don't have to spend that much on labor and they are making more money and everybody's having a good time. But you got to find the right people that are willing to do that too, which is not always the case. But if you find those people ready to work as a team or a small operation, we're going to be treating you very well. It's a family environment. You're not going to have to deal with hours and hours of training and meetings and counseling and all that. We tell things as they are on a daily basis and we make it work. But yeah, it's a different world. I mean, the food cost is a big issue. We try to really cross-utilize all the ingredients that we buy. We have shortened the menu. We try to grab the deals wherever we can get them on produce. Do the same with wine as well. You just got to be smart, quick on your feet, and adjust quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of all falls back into the team, right? And it's selection of the team, just being very deliberate about that. Especially delivering a great guest experience with less people, it's challenging. So how do you go about choosing the people that you hire, Mathieu? Any specific things that you look for? Because again, if it needs to be a tight team and a small team to deliver the service that you want to, the people need to have those standards. So how do you go about doing something like that?
Well, first and foremost, they have to care and they have to love serving others. That's definitely the first quality. Obviously, a nice smile, obviously good attitude. Attitude over aptitude, you can always teach, but you cannot teach to care, but you can teach knowledge about wine and food and all that. But if they don't care about it, about what they do, then that doesn't work. So it's really the right attitude and the willingness to learn and listen to what we have to say, both from the chef and from me as well. We don't know everything, but you're willing to,
Oh, definitely. And so, Mathieu, in a city like LA, where competition is crazy, just like in our market in Miami is, or in many big cities like near, how do you differentiate your restaurant from other restaurants? Like, what specifically do you guys do differently that sets you apart?
Yeah, we keep the check average pretty low. We want to be your once, twice a week destination, not a special occasion destination. So by trying to keep the check average low, we encourage people to come more than once in a blue moon. That's really what separates us from most French restaurants in LA. They tend to be overpriced. They tend to overcharge, and it's not always necessary. I'm always pissed off when I see wines in some restaurants list that are outrageously expensive. I understand why they have to do it because I'm sure their rent is crazy and they have all these people they have to obviously take care of and all that. But I still don't understand. Our first glass of wine is at $12 and I think that's fair. And you can find very good wine for this price that I purchase. It's not going to be obviously an aged Bordeaux or a very nice Burgundy, but you can find some pretty great stuff for this type of price. So we try to keep prices low. Our check average on, it's about $60 to $70 a person, which is pretty low for LA, for that price. You get a first course, an entree, 2 glasses of wine. It's pretty good. So yeah, this is where we stand out. Yeah. And friendly environment, good atmosphere, no pretentiousness. I think that sums it up. Yeah. Like a true French bistro.
Yeah. Right. And I think, what you're sharing is about creating value in not just perceived value, but delivering it as well. Yeah. Because if what we find is, especially now, the value proposition needs to be there 100%. Yeah. What you're providing and what people are looking for, there's a match, a product market fit. Also, there's many moving parts, but if those two things are working together, then you're on the right track.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we opened the restaurant in January. We've had busy few months. And then, like we said, summer is slow. And now we're picking up again and it's great. And I think people really appreciate what we're doing. I think they see it too. The quality of the food is really, really good. We make everything at the restaurant, so we don't buy any
Nice.
frozen sauces, produce, and all that. So we do everything there. I think the perceived value is definitely you get a great meal for less than $70 a person, and I think it's great.
No, definitely. And Mathieu, as someone that has managed both corporate restaurants and now with your own business and your own restaurant, how has your leadership style evolved over the years?
That's good, huh? That's a good one. Yeah, I'm definitely more relaxed. Well, yes, because before you managing teams of 20, 30 people, you don't really have time to arranging. You be a bit more strict and more direct with the way I was approaching any challenges, especially with the staff. Now that we are a very small team and also I've gained a little bit of age, I tend to listen more and just take a breath before I respond and act on a certain situation. I've noticed that people are getting even more touchy about everything you say. You're going to be an asshole anymore, well, pretty much. You really have to.
That's the old school mentality we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is how I was trained, man. I mean, the owner of Patina restaurant would storm into his restaurant, Joachim, and just beat the shit out of everybody. Like, first we'll do the tour of the dining room. Hey, where is Mathieu? Where is the manager? And just kill you instantly. And then move on to the kitchen and do the same with the chef. Although he had a better relationship with chefs because as a chef himself, but it was tough. So this is what you see. This is what you learn. And obviously, it's not right, but it taints you a bit, So I've learned to little by little just ease on that. And actually, I realized I get way more out of people than just being super strict without any roundness to it. Yeah, you get more and you get people in a better mood, and that definitely reflects on the guest experience.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think once you get into entrepreneurship, into business ownership, you quickly learn a thing or two about humility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes,
because you come with these ideas that you think you know, but then when you're in front of it, you see that's not the case. And dealing with people,
you get humbled every day. And that's something Joachim used to say too. He would always say, "Oh, look at these. I went to this restaurant. There are specific people in the industry, very cocky, right? They're so successful. Well, something will eventually humble them down." And it's true. It's very true. You can never take anything for granted. You had a great month. You think you're so successful, and then all of a sudden you're not. And something will humble you down for sure. So just be humble to begin with.
Exactly. Especially with your team. When we face moments of self-doubt as leaders, right? And I think everybody in the leadership position faces this. How do you navigate that with your team? Because they're looking at you for guidance. And when we're in this place and it's happened to everybody, to me, of course. And how do you navigate that inner dialogue to regain that confidence and be able to really direct or help your team out?
Well, I think goals are very important. Expectations. You have to really approach every day. Like you cannot bring your own, obviously, I mean, that applies for any position, any job, but your own personal problems, put them on the side. It's all about making sure we go through the day and the team comes in and those are the objectives for the day. Those are the challenges for the day. And if something's wrong, I think ahead of time, making sure you correct them. And if there is somehow some attitude or some behavior that is a little off-putting, we have to just fixing them before you open the doors before the guests coming in.
Sure.
I've come to realize that I'm stressed. I have my own problems. But once the team is here, these have to go away. And I have to put on my best face and my leader face to show the way that this is how I want them also to behave with the guests. So
there's a little bit of a balance there I found between shifting here to talking about vulnerability, because as a leader, sometimes we don't want to show what's happening or we're stressed or all of these things. But the truth is that we're at the same time, we're human beings.
Yeah.
Even if we're a leader or whatever it is, in your style, do you think it's important for a leader to share their struggles with their team? And so how do you balance that vulnerability with maintaining authority? Because I think that's a challenge that we all face.
I think it's important that they know if things are doing well. Obviously, they should know they are part of that success. And also when there are financial challenges, talking about them, I've realized is not always a bad idea, because they can also realize, hey, times are tough. I need to be even more supportive. I need to be even more careful. And we have to even work harder to bring in the people that are already coming in and creating even more memorable experiences, because
Mm.
the word of mouth is obviously the best marketing for you. So not oversharing, obviously, but I think
Yeah.
it's important to kind of include them into the challenges that you face so they understand too.
Sure. So they see you also as a person, not just their boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think that's,
Yeah.
it's a fine line,
It's a
because
fine line. Yep.
sometimes, those lines can be crossed and then it becomes something else.
Yeah.
That's the challenge
And
of
also,
leadership.
you should not
though.
worry them too much, because then they're like, well, if I'm going to be out of a job next week, then I might look for one right now.
Then they're going to quit before you can have a staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. All right, Mathieu. And when it comes to mentorship, Mathieu, what role does mentorship play in your leadership approach, both from learning from others and mentoring your team?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I've come to realize most people don't want to be told really what to do. They have their certain way of working around. So it takes time. It takes really a lot of time and patience. And yeah, it's tough. And you have to repeat yourself all the time in the best way possible. I've hired people that didn't know anything about fine dining per se. Like, let's say I hired that busser back in January, and he worked for this Japanese restaurant, but it's kind of a fast food like Japanese restaurant. So he was clearing tables with the bucket and all that, that kind of restaurant. So
yeah,
but he was such a nice guy, and he was a young kid, and I really was like, okay, I'm going to freaking teach you, and I want to teach you, and you want to learn because that's what you're telling me. So let's do it. It was rough. It was really rough. And I had to cut his hours and eventually tell him, hey, this is not working out, because he was, and for a young kid, he was barely 23 at that time. But he didn't want to change either. So at some point, you got to adapt, you got to adjust. And if you're not going to adjust, I'm sorry, but I cannot spend so much time trying to mentor you if you're not you're going to meet me halfway. You have to meet me halfway. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's from that side. But for you as a leader, you also find important to find mentorship for yourself with people that might be doing similar things to you in the restaurant business.
Yeah. Well, I had mentors definitely with the Patina restaurant group. My first general manager, I was a floor manager at that time, Christian Filippo, definitely was my first mentor in LA. He's now the GM at Gucci restaurants in Beverly Hills. He's an amazing guy. Seriously, really amazing guy. He taught me so much on how to deal with the staff, to deal with the guest here in Los Angeles. It's very particular here. And I had Kevin Welby, another GM, my chef, the chef and owner of Broken Spanish, Ray Garcia, taught me a lot, also mentored me a lot. Nowadays, obviously, it's a bit more complicated to find mentorship because I'm just not involved in that world anymore of meeting all those executives and all that. I'll say, my best friend Thibaut, he's also a hospitality leader, and I think we really feed off each other's experiences. He still works for different restaurants. He's opening his own bar too, actually. So we're learning from each other's on our similar experiences, because we meet once a week at least, and we catch up on everything. And I think we mentor each other in a way. I don't think we realize, but now that I'm talking about it, I realize, oh yeah, maybe this is now the person I talk to, and he talks to me, and we just share ideas. And
I think that's incredibly important to have that community, right? At least a few people that you talk to on a regular basis that you can bounce ideas from and then learn from each other. It's very helpful, especially in this road, man, because it can get pretty lonely sometimes when you're an entrepreneur. There's nobody who do I share this with?
Yeah. Well, that's great is now I have a business partner for the restaurant. So the bar extended to a restaurant just next to it. So we took down a wall, and it's like the bar and the restaurant. So now I have a business partner on the restaurant side. So that's great because we can also exchange a lot, but we're on the same level of execution. So he has his ways of doing it. I have my ways, and we're little by little like trying to make it. So that being said, we're not like he was on his own before. I was on my own before, very lonely when things go bad or challenging. Now we have each other to rely, and we can sit down, have a glass of wine, and okay, well, now we're in this situation. How do we deal with it? So it's pretty good.
It's very helpful for sure. Now you have partnerships that have their own challenges, but definitely having somebody to part.
They do have their own challenges.
It's a whole different story. Mathieu, so have there been any moments where you questioned your path in the restaurant industry?
Yes, when I am not able to take the time off I would like to take. I think that's the first when I'm like, why did I go into this industry? Because it doesn't really get better with years. The fact that you have to miss birthdays, parties, celebrations, visiting my family in Europe. I wish I could take 3 weeks and work remotely while I'm there. Well, that's not how it works, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Yeah, those are the times when I'm like questioning my path. I'm like, yeah, I could have had not an easier life, but a more fulfilling, because I valued private time a lot and vacations too. I mean, who doesn't really? And I come to realize, yeah, I'm now 38. I've been doing that since I'm 15 really. So more than 20 years of doing that. And I've missed so many events, life related events. And that really sucks because people come to your restaurant, your establishment to celebrate events, but you're not there for your actual family's events or your friends' events. And that's then when you realize you're like, that's probably the one thing I would, everything I think is very positive from this industry. I've met incredible people and had an amazing time and so many good memories. That's probably the only part where I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah, it definitely does, right? But especially when you're starting out with a new restaurant, whatever, it's just impossible to get away from it. My friends also come visit me at my restaurant when I first started, and they're just like, "Good, we never see you."
Yeah.
They came to have their events at our restaurant, so
that's how I see my friends do. They come and visit.
yeah, but you can never really relax and talk to them because you have an eye looking at what's happening in the rest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, no, definitely. But again, this industry has so many great things. I think that's why we're in it. I mean, we stay with this industry because it's just enough for it. It's just.
Yeah, if you care, taking care of people and showing them what you've been working on, a menu, one you picked yourself, a dish that was 2 meters away in the kitchen. Yeah, I think that's really special. And people trust you. They give you their trust that they're going to have a good time, that they're going to have good food and a good time with their friends and their family. And I think that's really nice. I mean, it's priceless in a way. Like you make people happy. Well, sometimes shit hit the fan, but but for the most part, they leave with a happy smile on their face. And you're like, wow, this is cool. We did that. We created that experience and people are going home with happier than they were when they came in. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think still people, even in the midst of all of these changes that we're facing in this industry, that people are still going to want to go out and have these experiences.
Yeah,
we all look for that. We crave for that. And we in hospitality have the opportunity to provide those experiences in it. So it's very unique. Mathieu, now looking at the future, where do you see the restaurant industry heading in a few years, particularly in light of the challenges that the restaurant industry is facing today?
Yeah, it's funny because last week I read an article and they're going to raise minimum wage again in LA. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, fine, pay people more, that's great, but we're not going to be able to hire at this point. And I think the future of hospitality for restaurants like us is you have less people on the floor and they do more, which I think it's already happening, unless you can charge a hefty price and then you can sustain having all these people on your payroll. But we're looking at automation a lot. You order on a freaking tablet and you don't have someone to talk to anymore. You order on your phone and then the food comes to you. I think that human interaction is unfortunately being replaced by computers for certain category of restaurants. I mean, fast food industry is already diving in it. I mean, all those restaurants are suppressing jobs by having tablets. Now you put it on order on the tablet and then someone delivers the food to you. Yeah. I think that's really sad. I hope we don't have to come that way too, but I think you just have to be super careful and even more on it and hands-on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a mix, right? What we're seeing is these two opposites, right? Like the streamlined menus, very simple, a lot of automation right behind it, a lot of technology, and then these type of concepts. And then you have the more expensive concepts where deliver an experience, and that's like just once in a while experiences, high price. But I think there's still a lot of innovation to be done in the middle of the sections where more of like the casual dining space. There'll still be a little bit of technology involved to streamline some of the operations, but still have a little bit of the human touch.
Yeah.
But definitely a challenge that we need to figure out.
Yeah, I don't see myself implementing people having to order on their phone. I think it's just so sad, This is not the type of restaurant that I want to be.
Sure.
But at the same time, some people are fine with it. So technology is great. I think it's a wonderful tool. We can do so much with it now, but you don't go to a restaurant to talk to a tablet or your phone. We're already on screen all the time, more than necessary. You're here to interact with a human being. So I don't know.
Agreed. You don't have a magic ball here, but for sure, I mean, that's where we see everything heading. But I think we're going to find a middle ground at some point.
I think so, yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
So, Mathieu, what's next for your business? Any exciting plans? Any goals you're working towards?
Yeah, we're really trying to put the word out there that we as a restaurant exist. It's only 9 months, so it's still very, very new. I think once we get to that point, I would love to have someone run the business on my behalf and take a step back. I would love to do some consulting work actually and help other fellow restaurateurs open a business and help them achieve that. That's something I would really like to get into. So that would be my next objective. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
To anybody getting in this industry, like to the newbies thinking about getting into the restaurant industry, what advice would you give them, Mathieu?
First, I will ask a question. I'll be like, are you ready to to give it all? And at least for a year and a half, 2 years, not counting your hours, just cross your weekends and vacation plans. And also, I think I would seriously question their financial solvability and making sure they're not putting in all their hard-earned savings from 20 years. And that's all they have. And they have close to no cash flow, because that would tell them right away, this is not going to be sustainable. You have to give them the brutal, hard truth before they spend $1 on opening a restaurant, because you're not going to make any money for the first year. If you make the second year,
if you make it during the first
year. If you survive, first of all, you're right. If you can break even, oh my God, amazing, right?
Yeah.
And are you willing to do that? Seriously. Because it's not as cool as it seems from the outside perception, right? People think, oh yeah, you look so cool walking to the dining room, talking to people, serving wine, and they offer you wine and you cheer with them. And that's amazing. Yeah, that's the amazing part of our job. But this is like 15% of our time.
That's bro, chilling with them, that's like maybe 2%, even if that happens. Yeah, no, 100%.
Are you ready? Are you ready to commit? Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. I always say the same thing. If somebody asks me that, what do you think about getting into restaurant business? And people would tell me too, like, are you sure you want to get into it? And I did, you know what I mean? But I wouldn't change it for the world. Honestly, just the things that you learn, and it's just the beauty of the business itself. And I know it's really tough, but it is wonderful. Yep. What I would say is also add to that is the processes.
Yep.
Manage it as a business, not just as a creative endeavor. It doesn't work like that, So Mathieu, in closing, what's one truth that you've learned as a restaurateur that others might find uncomfortable or difficult to accept, but it is crucial, that you found it's crucial for success?
Oh my God. Well, I guess it goes back to what we were just talking. Do not expect it to be easy, but it's going to be worth it, right? I think the rewards are not always what they seem. They're not always in your face. You don't necessarily get rich opening a restaurant. You rarely do actually, but the rewards are different. They are human rewards. You meet incredible people. You create connections with a lot of people throughout the day. I think those are the rewards you need to accept. You need to take them as rewards. If not, you're going to be miserable. Yes.
No, definitely. That goes a little bit into your definition of success.
Yes.
Like, how do you define that for yourself, Mathieu?
How do you define that? Yeah, it's not a bank account with a lot of zeros. It's loving what you do, accepting the challenges, and accepting when things are good in a way that you didn't think they would be. You had an amazing service. You created great connections with people. Everything was somehow flawless. You didn't fight with anyone, kitchen or the staff or whatever. Everything was great. And this is a reward. You have to take it as a reward. Yeah.
I agree. A day that goes well at the restaurant, it's a success.
Yeah.
It's 100%, because there's so
you go
many.
Home and you're like, wow, I feel light.
Yeah.
Well, Mathieu, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and your experience with us. I think everybody's going to get a lot of value from this. And so for anybody out there listening, Mathieu, where can they find Garçons Café, and how can they find you?
Yeah, of course. So we're located in downtown Los Angeles on Spring Street between 5th and 6th. Garçons Café is the wine bar, open 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday. And then next to it, the newly opened bistro restaurant, L'Appart, like apartment. It really looks like a very cool Parisian apartment once you step inside. And same days, Wednesday through Sunday, or lunch and dinner. And we also do happy hour downtown Los Angeles. Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Mathieu. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sebastian.
All right. Take care.
Take care.